Yeah.
I think High Roller, the next song, and this is probably a great transition into
Let's
it,
do it.
was a little bit more loose, especially with Matt's parts. And in fact, Matt's sort of like experimentation is what led us to that horn part.
Absolutely.
Like you know,
absolutely.
we really didn't have that in mind when we started. And when we heard what he was doing, and we heard that kind of like, he almost had this conversation going with himself that we were like, well, let's get another instrument involved.
Yeah.
And then Polly came in, and that was just this amazing like conversation that they got to have, and then the conversation that you and Matt got to have really got very special in
That might
song.
not be very obvious to the listener, by the way, but like to clarify, there was no saxophone in the room for that recording.
No.
Right.
As much as it seems like they're battling back and forth, like that was Matt playing harmonica live with the band, and then after the fact we went and did an overdub with Polly Serra, who's an amazing saxophone player, and was able to, you know, make it feel like he was in the room with us, and make it feel like that battle when actually they never met each other.
Right.
Such a
Oh, well, I'm sorry, they do know each other. But
Yeah. They had it in that project,
It's just such a testament to who he is as a musician, and just, again, I think thematically too, we talk about, okay, this conversation that's happening in Red River, and this conversation that's happening in High Roller, and then in The Voices, and on Soft, and on all these songs. Again, that theme of voices and conversation.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's our sync point.
So High Roller, it was second to last song I wrote for this. Alright, so we had played the Billy Bob show.
Right.
And I packed up my car and drove up to Mammoth for like a week.
Yes.
I need a break. I need to go to the mountains and go like hiking and just like do that for a while. So I packed up like the next morning, and I was, you know, I 5 a.m. just drove up to Mammoth. I'm like, I need a song. I have the song and I need to finish it. So I brought my Strat and, you know, sat by the little fire, just like finish the song. But I was listening to a lot of Taj Mahal. I knew I wanted kind of really cool, like throwbacky, because I love playing that kind of stuff. It's just so much fun, and just, it's just fun. And I love listening to that kind of music. And I was listening to a lot of Taj Mahal, and just like, God, I want to write a song like in that vein. That's really fun. And I kind of like a fun, like Bonnie Raitt kind of way too. And had the idea with the lyrics for a long time, like 2 years ago. Had most of these lyrics already composed in my notebook, and I knew it was going to be a song. And again, just couldn't really find the chords to get there. But I had the story pretty much set, and then once I found like the little like took off by that time, and then like, okay, this, oh yeah, put that E flat there, and okay, cool. And then that was pretty much it. Yeah, knew definitely like horns were going to be a big part of that song.
Yeah, I would say that's probably our biggest like, you know, in terms of where we took it, we got everybody's parts got really big, and we added really bigger, you know, horn sections and things like that to make it kind of larger. But I really love the groove of it. Like, did you have the lyrics and then you came up with the groove? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because the lyrics were already there. I had, again, like 2, maybe even 3 years ago, had those lyrics. Hey there, high roller with your crocodile tears. I'm like, oh.
What is a crocodile tear?
Like a fake tear?
Like just just
Like
like
a-
Do crocs not cry? Is that the...
Ooh. That's a question, folks.
Any
Which
crocodile
camera am I looking
experts
at?
in the comments,
Let
we
us
would
know.
love to know.
Hashtag do crocs cry?
Yeah. Do they cry, and
We know
why
the
do we
doves
make fun
do.
of them? Yes.
Yeah.
That is also true.
But it again with the theme, and I'm like, all right, well, high roller. I always love the term.
Is this based on somebody? Like, where did you see some like big
oh my
shot,
god, like horrible dates and boyfriends, like 100%. Where they're like think they're so sly. I'm like, you're so full of shit. Like that's so the song. That's so the song. Yeah, and it's a playful one, because I feel like a lot of the stuff that we do is maybe a little more on the serious side in the band. And I like really wanted, I'm like, this is a playful one, because I feel like we all have a playful side as musicians too, and as people. And I'm like, this needs to be it, and it needs to be a fun one. And it just really came together in that groove. I'm like, all right, this is really going to be fun for the guys. It's going to give them a lot to work with.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, and the way that song progresses and those grooves get kind of heavier and we get even, you know, bigger with it. It's got a very 70s vibe, which I think is why you kind of like went that way with the video too. You definitely leaned in on the video in terms of, that sort of having fun and not taking yourself too seriously.
Shout out to Jen on that video.
Yes.
Shout out to Jen. So good.
Killed
so
that
good.
video.
Yeah. Again, silly. Something fun and silly and...
Being an extra in your own video.
Being an extra in my own video. You too.
Yes. That was
hilarious.
hilarious.
And the car.
And the car.
It was good. Matt, again, for being such a champ and a good sport.
Yes, getting punched on camera.
Yeah, we were on Ireland's, and we were at Ireland's at a gig, and I'm like, listen, I want you to be the high roller in the video. Well, what does that entail? I'm like, it's going to be fun. You'll have a good time.
Yeah.
He was a good sport. He was a good sport.
That's a really fun video. It goes with a really fun song.
Yeah. Now, as far as mixing this one, how was that different than the rest of them?
I mean, it's less dynamic than Red River, so we had to definitely bring some of those dynamic elements into it, and we really wanted this one to be big and kind of fun and boisterous like the song is. So that, I think, was our biggest focus when we were going into mix, is like, how do we make this like jump out of the speakers like the song does? And you know, getting those guitars really kind of up in your face, and getting some excitement in some of the other parts, changing the balance a little bit about the rooms, and hearing a little bit more about like what we did at Sunset, I think kind of really helped that one out.
And his awesome drum playing on that song.
Oh my god.
It's good drum playing.
It was just my Chad Smith impersonation.
But well done, because that's a lot of fun, and it's fun to play along with. Like I remember recording that, and I have this kind of very simple part to start out the song, and I remember like locking in on like maybe the third take, and just going like dun dun dun, just like, yeah, this is just like floating perfectly.
Yeah, that was the one. If I'm not mistaken, of all of the songs, we got done with that one on like the third or fourth pass or whatever.
That sounds about right.
And that was the one where all of us were just like, moving on.
Yeah.
Nobody had any qualm with that.
That was the take.
We were like, that was the take. Yep. It's exactly right.
That was so much fun.
And I made a mistake on that take, and it's one of my favorite parts. I went to a part
There's
early.
a couple mistakes on that.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the charm of that. Is like,
for sure.
That one, absolutely.
I think the reason we all felt it too was that all of us maintained our connection to the song throughout the entire pass, which is, I don't know about y'all, but that's ultimately the hardest thing for me in the recording studio.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's something that is a challenge for beginners to experts in the recording studio, is just being present in any given moment, no matter your level of expertise.
Yeah, anything can kind of catch your attention, and if something takes you out of that moment, it's really, like, even a pro, it's hard to get back into it.
Yeah.
You know,
and the mics will pick it up.
Right.
You know, you'll hear that come out the speakers. You know.
Let's talk a little bit more about the room and stuff, and Sunset itself, and how using that space.
So we were in Sunset B, which is a pretty well-known room. That's the Zeppelin room, right? And we did our Audio Slave tune there too. Great. That was a lot of fun. And it's a phenomenal room. It's the way studios used to be designed, right? It's has these reflective and non-reflective surfaces that can be adjusted, which are really fun. It's a very big, lofty, high-ceiling room. Some really phenomenal equipment, a lot of it very old and very well maintained, and I think that contributed a lot to the sound of the record. The console in there is a very old, I think it's a Neve console, right? Yeah. And it just sounded, Jeff behind it, you know,
Jeff Neal
was nailing everything.
Awesome.
I think also, you know, part of the success of the tracking of that record had to do with what we were hearing and how it was going together, because, you know, Jeff doing, you know, these really expert moves with the console, and really each song he kind of gave us a different sort of vibe, which really helped us get into it in the moment. It helped us in the mix, so that we didn't, you know, we weren't constantly just trying to make, you know, the same thing sound different or anything like that. We had all these great options, and so I think that was really part of the magic of tracking it there specifically, and with someone like Jeff behind the console, so that we could kind of just be, you know, we could just be there in the music. And I think we really, especially High Roller, like you said, we can hear how in the music we were.
Oh yeah.
That take.
Like I remember going back in the room and listening back, and we're like, yeah, it's a banger. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah. It was it was sounding great. Just right then, just Yeah, that was a lot. It was a lot of fun. That was a particularly fun one. And just Stratty goodness for me on that one.
Yeah.
I'm like, Les Paul is just not going to do it on this. Like, I need that Stratty goodness.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, it was super fun.
And great. Jeff was, since we're talking about him, that was such a unique and cool situation to have him in that room because I don't know how much anybody watching this knows, but Jeff worked at Sunset for how long?
At least like 10 years, right?
Yeah, like, you know, that was his primary gig, was like an engineer at Sunset, and then he left, I guess, and now he's just like a freelancer for them. But that was so ideal for us because it's like there was literally nobody else in the entire building when we went to record, in none of the other studios, so we had free reign of the entire building, any of the echo chambers we wanted to use.
Which we did.
Oh, yes.
And, like, if you had some crusty engineer who had been there for 20 years who worked for Sunset Sound, they might have, you know, been a little bit over it. But the fact that he was, like, into the music, but also knew that facility so well and gave so little of a fuck that he would just let us do anything we wanted.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was great. Oh, yeah.
He also, his intuition really helped
yes,
too. Like,
I was gonna say.
With the echo, like, chambers and stuff, like, giving us those printed echo chamber sends, like, he totally didn't even ask him for that, but he just knew, like, we were going to want to go for that and capture some of that other element of that space. And, yeah, I think you're right. Him knowing it is really a big part of what we got and why we were able to capture the sound of Sunset Sound in this recording.
Absolutely. And it was funny, like, preparing for it, we had done, it was you, me, and Jeff, we did a, you know, video call, and so 5 songs, huh, guys? 5 songs. And it one day. We were like, yeah. You sure? Sure about that? We're like, oh yeah. Like, these guys are prepared. It's gonna be great. Okay. And we 4.5 hours of banging that thing out.
We did. We had time for overdubs and a nice lunch and everything.
Nice lunch. Nice long lunch.
Nice
great.
Long lunch, yeah.
Yeah. It was so great working with him on this. That was, it was really special.
Big ups to Jeff Neal.
Yes, Jeff Neal. Jeff. We love you, Jeff. It was great.
Yeah. So that's High Roller, I guess.
Yeah, that's High Roller.
It's probably a good place to stop for High Roller.
Yeah.